You ever done this before?
No.
Oh, or you went for some surprises. We got clown cars, we got water balloons. It's a festive time on the lakes tonight. The Winterberg Chain of Lakes is 6 lakes all tied together by canals. They started out as creeks, the canals did, and they got turned into logging canals in 1870, and that's why we can boat from lake to lake with no problems at all. Our lakes are naturally formed, thousands of years old. Same thing with the canals. Probably about maybe 20, 30, 40 feet deep in some spots. Now, from time to time, I am going to pick up speed. I'm not going to be boating along here. There are some wakes that we'll be going over, so the boat's going to do a little rocking. So keep your tripod nice and secure there. I hate to see that thing go. And watch out for your hats, because it does get a little windy when I do pick up speed. And then the last rule I have is no standing up during the tour. I mean, like, where would you be going anyhow?
Wee-hoo! Wee-hoo! Wee-haw! Cookie, watch your hat, Amor. Watch your hat. Woo-wee! Woo-haw! Wee-haw!
Now, we're pretty fortunate in Winter Park to have some museums as distractions too. We got the Morse Gallery on Park Avenue. That's an incredible museum. And this one on the right is the Polasek Museum and Sculpture Garden. It's a 3-acre parcel of land. That's the home he used to live in. And when he passed away in the 60s, his wife donates the home and the 3 acres and all of his works to the city of Winter Park. It's a very generous gesture by Mrs. Polasek. Sitting on the museum property is the oldest house that's left from the 1880s. We were founded, by the way, in 1881, and this house was built for the Capon family back in 1885. Look on the dock. You see right behind the dock, that bird standing there is a blue heron. Not a completely full-grown adult, but definitely mature enough to be a couple of feet tall when he cranes up high. They're native birds. They're all over the tropical south of the U.S., actually, not just here. The Capon House, folks, that 5,000 square foot cottage that the Capons built for their little winter getaway was originally built on the other side of the lake, and it sat there up until 10 years ago. Here's what happened. A guy buys the place. He wanted the lot. He did not want that house, but they came together. That's what happened. You want the lot, you got to buy it with the house. So he ended up, he couldn't tear it down. It's a historical house. So he gives the house, signs it over to the museum. And then the process of raising the money to move it ensued. And we ended up splitting it in half, putting wheels under each half. And then they rolled it onto a barge they built at the lakeshore and floated it across the lake in 2 trips. It was a very cool day to see a house floating on this little lake. 1928, that went up for the gentleman who owned the Sinclair Oil Company. That was his little winter getaway. And I keep referring to the little winter home, a winter getaway. The 2 gentlemen that founded our city in 1881 came from Chicago, real estate moguls, and they knew what they were doing. They knew they had a very, very focused intent on buying 700 acres of land right here around the lakes, and it was to create a winter resort town. And that's all it was. Very wealthy people came here in the winter time, and then they go back up north. You know, things warmed up there for them. They were called snowbirds too for doing that back and forth. Look at the size of that tree. It's hard to see through it, but that's a 500-year-old oak tree. The logging industry that was here from 1870 to 1900, they didn't take it down. They didn't take a lot of the older growth trees down, so we have some really mature pine trees, oak trees, and cypress trees. They didn't take down hardly any of the cypress trees that are on the shoreline of the lakes and the canals. And the reason they didn't take down the cypress is because it doesn't float. Cypress just goes right to the bottom, so they couldn't float it down to the
Lay your head down.
You gotta watch your heads on these pipes right here.
Oh
watch
my
your
God.
heads, folks.
Oh my God. That was low.
Now, Lake Osceola we just left back there. That's a pretty small lake, 150 acres. And here we are coming out onto Lake Virginia, which is 250 acres. It's also the southernmost lake on the chain. The rest of them are all north of us. And all the property you see with that beautiful chapel steeple off to the right, that's the campus of Rollins College. And that was started back in 1885. And I'll give you a little bit more background on that when we come down their shoreline. Now, if you take a look off to the left, you're going to see a small canal going under that bridge to the lake. You can see right on the other side. That's Lake Mizell, and that is the smallest lake on the chain. It's only 50 acres in size. Folks, I'm telling you, it makes for a beautiful front yard for these estates. You know, lake in the front yard, lake in the backyard. I know, you're feeling sorry for them. I felt the same way when I first started doing this. I felt this. So I started a GoFundMe page for these guys over here. A very wealthy gentleman. Yeah. We're not allowed to mention names of who's living in the estate. So if you're looking for the gossip tour, hire me privately because I know some stuff that'll sink this ship. Oh yeah. Now, the original part of that estate is the slanted roof part and the crescent awnings on the second story and the black pillars. That was built back in 1921. And then 11 years ago, it got enlarged with those massive wings. A large family buys the place and has a contractor builder added. I'm assuming bedrooms. When I say a large family, I'm talking 14 kids. Yeah, I know. Time to put the TV back in the bedroom. Gotta find something else to do, you know.
Following that boat over there.
This undeveloped land you see on the left-hand side here, that's a 60-acre wildlife preserve. We have a very healthy population back there of about 120, 130 or so peacocks. Definitely not a native bird to the U.S. or to Florida. They were brought back from India in 1950. Two of them, male and a female. That's all it took to get this little bunch going here. And it is the symbolic bird of the city of Winter Park. So you're going to see a lot of representations here and there of peacocks. Street signs got a decal on all of them, shop windows, manhole covers, park benches, artwork. It's pretty cool. And the buoys that you see stretched out going way down, right on down the lane here, right off to the left there, that's the slalom ski course for the students at Rollins College who are competing, of course. Now in front of us is the campus of Rollins, founded back in 1885, folks. It's the very first private college to go up in the state of Florida. And when they opened their doors for students in 1885, they had 60 of them their very first year, all paying $100 a year to go to college. I know. Well, I'm here to tell you. Yeah, exactly. $100 in 1885 was actually a chunk of change, especially for the parents, you know. But today it's a whole different story because you're looking at the #1 liberal arts college in the United States. There's a rating system. It's been going on for decades, and they have maintained the #1 slot at the top for 20 years in a row. This is a very admirable reputation they have. Now you take that reputation, you couple it with putting a college right in the middle of one of the wealthiest communities here in Central Florida, and you got $72,000 a year. It's one of the most expensive liberal arts colleges in the country. There's a couple others they're almost neck and neck. About 2,000 students undergrad and about 1,200 grad students every year.
So that's inflation.
They're very active with the and proactive with the scholarships for sure. I don't think I've met a student that hasn't gotten some form of financial aid from the scholarship program. You know, folks, all the waterways, and I'll just point this out now, it's a perfect example. You see these trees on the shoreline? They're called bald cypress trees. Really easy to pick out this time of year. It's the fall season for them because their green needles are all turning brown, and that's why we have a brown tinge to them. And by the end of another month, 3-4 weeks, they're all going to be totally dropped off onto the ground, and then you're going to be left with bare branches. A lot of nests of blue herons and anhingas will be able to be seen very readily. The only thing that really stays up there year-round is the Spanish moss, that long drapey stuff, and that really does, you know, and it takes a like hurricane kind of wind to blow the Spanish moss off onto the ground. It's not doing any harm to the trees, the Spanish moss. It just grows out of the bark, and it grows on multiple breeds of trees. It's not particular. Hopefully we're going to see some blue herons up in the nest. I've seen a couple at the tops of the trees. Now Rollins is very active with the water sports. Why not? You got Lake Virginia here in your backyard. They do all of them on Lake Virginia except the crew team, and that's on a bigger lake that we're headed to right after this. And they have all the land sports too. They're not shy on that, except football. They've never gotten into the football thing.
Is this a sailing school? Is this a sailing school?
Well, it's part of one of the programs. Yes, they have a sailing team that you can try out for. You can enroll to be in, but it's competitive sailing. It's not just joy sailing around a lake. Yeah, it's not for students just saying, oh, I feel like sailing today. No, you got to be on the team. And that Knowles Chapel, you see the steeple again, that was built in 1931 and designed and built by a world-famous architect of cathedrals and large churches, and they commandeered him to build this small, intimate Spanish chapel. Now off to the left is Dinky Dock. This is a wonderful little public park. There's a boat ramp over there up to the right, and anybody can boat on the chain of lakes. If you've got your own watercraft and you're living locally, come on down. If you're powered like a jet ski or a motorboat, you got to have your numbers in order, the registration numbers for sure. We are patrolled by the Winter Park Police. They got a Marine division, of course. But that is where the sawmill sat, in particular up on the parking lot area of the property. So digging out, taking time in 1870 to dig out creeks, dig deeper and wider, was a no-brainer for them, because floating everything to this location, the oak trees and the pine trees, it just really picked up the pace on the lumber production that they were doing. And that's a dormitory, the one above the trees there, that four-story cream color. That's the last dorm furthest to the east part of the campus. But right next to the dorm, this Spanish Mediterranean home coming into view. That is where the president of Rollins College lives. And the rest of the buildings, they're all condominiums going right on down to the canal. You know, you still have a lot of snowbirds. There's a huge wealth factor going on here in Winter Park, and so it's not unusual for people to have other locations that they have homes that they're going to for certain parts of the year. But I would say definitely 80% of the people are here year-round. Don't know that for sure, but some things are obvious because shutters come down on windows, and then you know that they're not there they're off in Europe or something for the month, like we all do. We all go to Europe for a month or so, right? Yeah. So I knew it was that kind of a crowd on board. You can. Now, the contemporary homes, you got two different styles and two different periods. The pyramid roofed ones, the twins there, that 3 years old. It was completed, folks moved here. The one to the right, the two-story, that's about 21, 22 years old. I like the one on the left. I'm not a big fan of the boxy thing on the right. Kind of looks like my dentist's office right up the street here, but this canal is great because I can look from one end right on down to the other end. They are two-way canals, so I can see if there's traffic coming at us. The next canal is a little bit more windy, so we don't have that option. Oh yeah, all the time. This is a very slow day for oncoming traffic, which is unusual, but nevertheless. And the protocol is that if there's somebody this side of the bridge coming at us, powerboat, ski boat, pontoon boat, we'll back out and give way to them coming out. We can actually pass, two of our size, we can pass under that bridge there up ahead. Now, your smaller craft, like a paddleboard, kayaker, things like that, they can pull right off to the side, and we can scooch by real tight to the other side, but we'll get by them.
Watch your head.
Watch your heads one more time, folks. Watch your heads on the pipes here.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I like the colors. It's nice. Darker, slow.
Now, another of the older estates from the beginning is Winter Park, 1889. It's a Georgian-style home you're going to see in a couple of seconds. It's right behind the Twin Boathouse. And you go up to the head of the property and you have the Brewer estate. Edward Brewer had that built back in 1889 for move his whole family down from upstate New York. He was a carriage builder, very successful of course. And he's buying lumber, but before that, that's how he got one to Winter Park. He heard about great lumber prices down here right from the mill. But he ends up building 8 bedrooms, 8 baths. There's 2 kitchens. There's a ballroom on the 2nd floor. Big house. A lot of entertaining going on with that family. And other families who've owned it too. You don't have a ballroom and don't dance. Or do you? Is everybody still dancing? Thank you very much. I got a few moves left. Oh yeah.
All done.
Now the estate on the point to the right with the sandy beach, 1950 that was built. And they call it a Bermuda-style home, and I guess they're referring to the fact that it's single-story but with a white roof. And that was kind of essential back in 1950 because if you were here in any type of heat or hot, climate situation, summertime and whatnot, you'd want to reflect as much heat as possible because there was no air conditioning. Nobody had AC until 1956.
No ID. No ID. It's black. There's no ID.
Now, if you take a look off to the left-hand shoreline, you see a red brick estate. It's got white trim, the white pillars on the right side. A lot of it is still hidden, the main part of the house, by the cypress trees. You'll see it in a second. But that was the home of the Rogers family. If you all remember Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, that gentleman went to Rollins College from 1948 to 51. And his parents came down from Pittsburgh, that's where they're all from, to visit him here at Winter Park at the college. And they took such a shine to Winter Park, they ended up buying that estate. So his parents lived there for about a decade. And they loved this little town. But Fred himself, when he graduated in 1951, he moved to New York City and started making his way in the TV business, actually. He started out with NBC, I believe. Took him all the way to 1968, and that was the first airing of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. But none of that makes any difference because you're all staring at that huge estate to the right through the trees. That's the largest one in Winter Park, folks. Not done yet. About 4 years of construction on that, maybe. It's the longest construction project I have ever witnessed being here in Winter Park. Yeah, well, these are all private, single-family, private resident homes. There isn't one that there's no townhomes. There's no Airbnbs. Nobody's renting out rooms. There's none of that going on in Winter Park. But that one's at the largest. It's 42,000 square feet. That's going to be just two people living there too when they get done. Yeah. Very contemporary in architectural design. Especially the front of the house. The front of the house is something else. It's on Palmer Avenue. If you're local and you know that street, I hope you've driven down and had a look at it. It's interesting. And I'm being quite reserved. Now this is a remodel, the two-story white one on the left of the canal. This was built in 1955. Never, ever, ever got a remodeling from 1955 up until when these folks buy it 3 years ago. And the remodeling process has been going on about 2 years. And a complete makeover and additions to it. So they went up from 5,200 square feet originally up to probably about 7,000 square feet. And even though all the landscape is getting redone, they added the pool, the fireplace building. Pretty impressive to see what it's going to end up like. I can't wait to see what they do with the landscape because we got nothing on their side of the canal. So it depends on the home. We have a number of homes by that architect James Gamble Rogers. Not all of them are historical, but when they know that it was a house designed by him, that was designed. That one back there was another James Gamble Rogers house. I'm not sure of the architect on this. But it had such great bones and elegance in the layout and everything that they decided to remodel versus, I tell you what, most people, or it's kind of like a 60-40 split. Somebody would buy the property with that old house on it, tear it down to the ground, start from ground up. And that is happening a lot. You'll see a couple of lots that beautiful old homes were knocked down and now they're going to start the ground up. Yeah, they do, and there has been a very traditional look on most of the homes here in Winter Park, but there's a huge upsurge, and it has been going on for like 15 years easily, of very modern contemporary homes. Now you gotta watch your heads a little bit on the right side here, don't want to hit the bridge. This is Palmer Avenue.
Watch your head.
And this canal is called the Venetian Canal. And this is a lot longer than the other one, so enjoy the ride.
You feel? What's happening? You want macho cake? You always like macho cake.
Now all the boathouses on the right-hand side of the canal, folks, they all belong to homes right across the street accordingly. Not everybody's got a boat in their boathouse. It's not a mandatory thing. Some people do. Thank you. Thank you for the compliments back there. I didn't hear them. Thank you.
It's not easy to go. He's parked clean.
Well, it wasn't always that way. Now that's the Rollins College Crewing Boathouse. That was built 10 years ago. They moved the crew team up to Lake Maitland here because of the size of this lake. It's 450 acres. And we do share half of the lake with the city to our north, Maitland. That's them on the distant shoreline. In fact, Maitland even owns that island out in that part of Lake Maitland. It's called Dog Island. It's not inhabited. People boat up to it and have little cookouts, parties, bonfires, whatever. A social gathering place. And off to the right, this is a beautiful park on the right here, folks. It's called Craft Azalea Gardens.
Craft Azalea Gardens.
Maybe 5 or 6 acres. Hey! Stop that kissing. What's going on over there?
It's a parky. Craft
Get a room.
Azalea.
Come on.
Craft Azalea. You like it, parky? You can go to this one. This one. Kissing. Okay.
So now this location in the park right here is Samurai Central. This is one of the most unbelievable photo opportunity locations with the columns behind them. It gets a lot of photographic attention. A lot of couples get married there too. Not those two in particular. It's a little bit more. Well, I don't know. It's 2023. You know, could be. You never know. I'm an open-minded guy.
They get married.
The Spanish Villa with a 2-story boathouse, folks, that was built in 1927. And you go 2 estates to the left with the other red tile roof estate, 1930. It is owned by a Brazilian family. That's why you got the green flag of the Brazilian. Viva Brazil! The one in the middle, now that's for sale. There's a yard sign up there that nobody can see, and it's been on the market for quite a while. Quite a while means like 6 months, and usually estates that go on the market, they sell within a couple of days, if not a week or so, within a very short period of time. A lot. A real lot. Somebody quoted it last week, but prices are changing, so I have no idea what it's down to now. They have come down a little bit. Started at, I don't know, 16 or something like that.
16 million.
You like the all glass back? The one sitting really close to the shoreline was built in 1928. You're looking at Venetian architecture at its best. It really is a beautiful home inside now. The current family has been residing there about 21, 22 years. And 10 years ago, these folks had a great opportunity. The house to the right went on the market. They buy it, tear it down to the ground, and build the matching pool house. Oh yeah. See all the features lining up?
Yeah.
When money is no object, this is what happens. Now that little bridge, that is your only access to get on and off this 12-acre island. It's called the Isle of Sicily. And there's 11 estates that have been built on this island over the years, and we're looking at 2 of them at the south end. And that's all we get a glimpse of because we're going to swing around to the left here. Oddly enough, they gave it the name the Isle of Sicily because the island is in the shape of the boot of Italy.
So it's like Sicily. So,
This is a prime example. These 2 lots here, they both were home to some very older homes like 1920s and 25s right in there. I think the one on the right was 1919 or 20. The one on the left was an older one, 1920s. And they both came down in the past 5 months. And we're waiting to see what's going on. Yeah, it's pretty impressive with the 2-story windows. You got the Christmas tree, almost a 2-story Christmas tree in there. Now the home that replaced, this one's only about 3 years old, but the home that came down, just like there, the lot became empty, was really nice. But they just said, no, don't want to change it into what we want. They had their idea what they wanted to build, so boom, gets demoed. The house in the middle with the spiral staircase and the black pergola, that was built in 1989 for Horace Grant. He had just gotten a better offer from the Orlando Magic. He was playing for the Chicago Bulls, and he moves to Orlando, builds a 24,000 square foot home with a full-size basketball court in there. That's 4,000 square feet is a full court. That's a huge amount of space. The one to the left of his was 1935, right at the height of the Great U.S. Depression. People are knocking out winter retreats like that. Hey, listen, if you're going to Publix, would you mind picking me up a roast beef sub with extra onions and mayo spinach instead of, you don't mind, do you? I mean, you're going there, right? Doesn't hurt to ask.
It's a small boat.